It's not going on.
There we go.
Hey, it went through. Just when I was about to give up on the internet. So here we are. Welcome to A Democrat and a Republican Walk into a Bar, the online version. I am your Democratic host, Dr. Cindy Banier.
I am your Republican host, Sean Hartman.
I was actually just got a little bit behind in producing our last episode, so I was going through that and realized that last episode we didn't even introduce ourselves. We just
I felt like we kind of went right into it.
We went right into like Father's Day and all sorts of stuff. So anyway, now we've done it properly. So here we are. We are talking about, we do have a potential location for our live show to go back live. So I'm hoping to announce that coming up here soon, either the end of July or into August. But since we're at the top of the show here and we're talking about great stuff that's going on, we have something pretty cool coming up this week, don't we, Sean?
Yes. Oh, I am so excited to announce this. So we've been trying to promote this and we got it locked down. July 3rd, we have a Cape Coral City Council debate, the first of our debates, our debate series. It is for District 5. So that'll be Bobby Welch, who's the incumbent, Jason Konzelman, who's the new guy. You got Joe Kilrain and Charlie Pease as well. You got those four candidates all have agreed to be there. That will be at 5:30 to 7 at the Cape Coral Public Library on Mohawk. We will have the doors open at 5:15 with candidates there, hopefully. So if you want to come in and speak to them early, that is definitely a great opportunity. And this is, of course, going to be a bipartisan debate with I'm sure, Democrat questions and Republican questions. My thinking on the format, we haven't fully discussed it, but I'm wanting to give everyone 5 minutes to debate, 5-minute answers. I really would love to do a Lincoln Douglas debate, but I know Joe Kilrain, and Joe Kilrain will talk for 20 minutes on a single issue. So we do have to put a time limit, but I do want a longer time limit because I really want to be able to allow these candidates the opportunity.
They bring like a gong or something.
We'll ring a little bell or something. And that's the thing, and I actually want to talk about this too in connection to obviously our debate, and before we get into the presidential debate, which I'm excited to talk about, to talk about, of course. But before that, we actually had a debate with the Cape Coral Republican Club that gave me a lot of understanding of what type of format to do. And the great thing is the Republican Club asked a lot of good questions, but did not give the candidates a good enough time to answer. And that really harmed the candidates. And a lot of the candidates also didn't feel I felt that they didn't feel they have the specifics on a lot of issues, such as the budget and millage rate. So there's a lot of areas where the candidates need to improve too. But I think it also comes down to how you ask the questions in a way that's comprehensible. You and me, we're policy wonks. We understand this type of stuff. We can't be out there asking them like PhD level questions to like a bachelor student type of thing. So we're hopefully going to find a way to simplify the questions, but still ask tough questions on actual policy issues, what they're going to do within the next 4 years, because these issues are important, and they're important to both Democrats and Republicans. And thankfully, because of what we've talked about so often, this city council has unified Democrats and Republicans in their hatred on the council. But the thing with this debate is this will be with Bobby Welch, who's one of the incumbents, but he's the only incumbent who voted no on the stipend. And so we are going to ask him. There's been some questions about that because, yes, he voted no on the stipend, but he accepted the stipend. So that's that's a preview of one of the questions that we'll be asking, but I'm not going to give any more. I definitely want to make sure these candidates do their research, hopefully after the Cape Coral Republican Club debate, and come in very well informed. And hopefully we're going to do some more with the city council and possibly a broader candidate forum for all the other candidates, because unfortunately a lot of the Republicans in partisan races, I have said it publicly and I will say it again, are pussies because they do not want to debate the Democrats. And actually, it was something that Byron Donald said. I commented on and tagged you on Instagram. Byron was talking about the importance of debates and having these engagements. And I hope he takes the opportunity to debate his opponent, Kerry Lerner, just like he debated you. And so he might not have the time. It'll probably be his excuse, which is understandable given all the campaigning he's doing. But I would like to see that. I think of it, like he said, we should have this engagement. We should put our money where our mouth is and defend our values. But unfortunately, we have a lot of Republicans. We spoke last week about the school board debate that was canceled because Vanessa Schiaviano said she didn't want to do a debate. And
yeah,
I talked so much, I need some water.
But say, yeah, you're really on one right now.
I'm really on one right now. No, I am really excited. You know, I did my first debate with a library in the 2022 race it was Carol Ray Colleton. Excuse me. And Allie, her name is on here somewhere.
I see your
yeah, my wall of candidate stuff. Allie Wharton. She was one of yours, but she came into the race as well. So those are the only two who wanted to debate in that one. And hopefully this one will have a lot more showing up. I do know a lot of Republicans have been asking me about it. They've been hearing about it. So I'm hoping to have some good Republican turnout there as well. Not just have the Democrats show up like you always bring them. So hopefully we'll get that. And I did get it over to Wink News and Valerie over at the Daily Breeze. So hopefully we'll get some media coverage as well over on that day. And so if you're wanting to come speak to the media, it's always a good opportunity to give your voter opinion. But yeah, so very excited
about us little old Democrats over here, are you? Not these little old Democrats that filled 140 races across the state of Florida and came in at the last minute with candidates and everything, but we didn't get the constitutional offices filled. But we got just about everything else. So it'll be interesting. Actually, I'm very excited about this for us because this is kind of why Sean and I started this podcast to begin with, is that so we could have these cross party forums. And I think we always had it in our vision that we would be able to do these types of candidate debates. And I think we're well positioned in it because, both of us are informed about the candidates and the positions. I think both of us have the right temperament to moderate these debates as well.
And we're both, you can't really say we're biased either which way because we're literally biased on opposite directions.
Right.
So it's
I mean, that's fair. It's just it's got to be representative is all, right?
We are truly, as Fox News would say, fair and balanced.
We are. And so I'm excited, and thanks to the candidates who have agreed to show up, and I'm definitely looking forward to more of them. So the way that we've set this up too, by the way, is this is officially an event of Save Our Democracy, which is a federal 501c4 social welfare agency that focuses on voter education in the state of Florida. And Big Mouth Media and a Democrat and Republican Walk Into a Bar are the media sponsors of the event. We are planning on live streaming the event as well, so check that out. We're going to get our tech set up so that we can have the candidate's voice be heard. And hopefully this will be the first one of many that we do all the way through the campaign cycle here. So very excited for that.
Excellent. Yeah. So we're doing it through through the Save Our Democracy organization. It was just a way to help us pass through the bureaucracy of the Cape Coral library system. You'd be surprised the bureaucracy of the library system.
Yeah, this is a nonprofit agency, right? So it is nonpartisan, and that's why all these organizations get a little bit dodgy when you're talking about for-profit businesses or partisan things.
Which Big Mouth Media, of course, is a for-profit business,
right? We're a business,
but, so we we sometimes make money.
We're still growing, but we're but that's where we got to start. So this is I think this will be a big step for us. I'm very excited for that, and we look forward to seeing everybody this what are we looking at? Wednesday, right? Wednesday, July 3rd, from 5:30 p.m. at the Lee County Library in Cape Coral on Mohawk.
Excellent. Yep, that's where we're going to do it. Speaking of debates, let's talk about this presidential debate that just happened. I definitely want to get your thoughts with Joe's performance. I see you're still with him with the sign behind, but let's let me get your thoughts first.
Yeah. So, I mean, I watched the debate. I thought it was a good debate. Joey B was on top of his policy points like he always is. Trump lied his ass off and didn't answer almost any of the questions. He said when he did answer, he was very strong in his lie and his evasion. And I think that's where, afterwards, Joey B got some criticism on that he was looking slow. He was slack-jawed sometimes. There did seem to be some differentials on the camera angles. I'll say that. Trump was being filmed like as he was straight on, and then they got a lot of side angle on Joe Biden. But overall, I was very happy with the responses of Joe Biden, and I was very upset with the pundits' response afterwards, because I was watching the CNN one, and the fact that they came directly after the debate, and the entire panel discussion afterwards,
it was horrible.
With all this inside stuff about people talking about Joe Biden.
I'm like, how are they finding out within an hour? Oh, I agree with you.
It wasn't even. It was within minutes of it going on. So let me just say this, because I'm really pissed off about this, to be honest. First of all, and the person who started cutting into him first was one of the Republican strategists that was on the panel on CNN. So let me say this. One, if you're a Democrat who's BFFs with a Republican strategist to the extent that you are sending detrimental information to a Republican strategist on CNN, I don't think you're really a Democrat. Let me just put it that way. Okay. Second of all, then everybody else talking about, there's these inside calls from fucking where? From fucking where? Because let me tell you something, and I don't know if you know this, Sean. I'm a delegate to the Democratic National Convention, right? So there's this intrigue about, are they going to do this thing and switch the delegates and blah, blah, blah. Well, guess what? How many people have called me about this?
None.
Zero. And let me tell you, there's not that many delegates around the country, right? So there's only, a couple thousand people that could possibly make this decision about whether or not Joe Biden gets to stay, and no one's called me.
Well, even then, actually, the only one who can really make that decision is Joe Biden, because you're a pledged delegate, from my understanding, to him. You can't just decide to throw a coup d'etat and say, I'm going to vote for whoever I want. So the only person who can make the decision to drop out is Joe Biden, and thankfully for the Republicans, it seems like he's not dropping out. You seem to be the only person on the planet who thinks that Joe had a good performance on the debate. So I
watched it. Listen, did I? There was a couple times that he stumbled. There was a couple times.
Sure, a couple. We'll say a couple.
He stumbled a hell of a lot less than Trump lied. I'll tell you that. So.
I think it was like 30 lies to 9 that they, but even then, I think
it was every 1 minute and 20 seconds Trump was lying, was the calculation. So, and then he didn't answer the questions. There were so many questions that Trump, it wasn't even a pivot, it was an evasion, right?
I will say that. I think that if it wasn't for the performance that Joe gave, Trump would have received a lot more scrutiny. Because you're right. Just the fact that he said, I didn't have sex with a porn star. We all just admit that you did at this point. We as Republicans, for some reason, do not care. We're happy for you. Good for you. You hooked up with a porn star while your wife was pregnant. You know what? Bill Clinton did it. JFK did it. FDR did it. You're in good company, bro. Just admit you fucked the porn star already. That was like, come on. Even Republicans know you did it.
It was all just like par for the course for Trump. It was bluster. It was lies. It was pivots. It was blah, blah, blah. And everybody's like, that's just Trump. And like,
exactly. So, see that. But the thing is with Biden had the benefit of really low expectations, and he didn't get even to those low expectations. Like the amount of stumbling, all he had to do is show that he didn't need to do that. And it from the first 5 minutes, I was like, at least they didn't give him the right drugs, I guess. I was like, they forgot to put the drugs. They gave him a placebo
last time, right?
It's like, seriously. And it was, so I was at that point like cringing and just sad for you guys. I was like, I really wanted him to do good, to really have a strong debate and have them actually perform, and both of them talk about policy issues. But then you have Trump not necessarily bringing up some of his main policy issues, but like you said, not always answering the questions.
Border, illegals, border
thing is all, border is one of his main issues.
The answer to every question: should we invest more in childcare? Well, we got illegals coming over the border, right? Like that's not an answer. And
taking black jobs from.
Oh, that's right. Black jobs. That was great. Black people are super loving that. Like, I don't know if you've seen on Black Twitter, But yeah,
the specifically black jobs. That doesn't ring of slavery a little bit, but anyway. No, that was a weird one for sure. And the porn star comment, I was like, come on, we all know you did it, just admit it. And so, but I will say, and the one thing,
no one cares. No one cares how many times Trump lies.
Republicans have let it go. We do not care. We do not see it as an issue.
I think he's a means to an end for a lot of people. He's a means to the end for evangelicals. He's a means to the end for the Federalist Society. He's a means to the end to the fiscal conservatives. So nobody actually cares. Literally, nobody cares what he says at all. Nobody cares if he slept with a porn star. Nobody cares that he has 34 felony convictions. Nobody cares that he didn't answer any of the questions in the debate, because Heritage Foundation's got Project 2025, and that's what's going to happen. And that makes a whole bunch of people in the conservative universe happy. So
I'm going to admit, I did apply for, they have a presidential, they're like vetting the data. They have the database. I applied for it. I'm doing the training.
Why the fuck not? Like, Sean, I don't blame you.
Look, I have, grew up on the West Wing, but me and my stepmom loved the West Wing, and I would love to work on the White House communications office. Maybe I can change him.
I'm just saying, Bradley Whitford did donate to my campaign, not to make you cry.
Oh, I love Bradley Whitford. I hate that he's such a liberal, but I love him. I loved him in that show.
But no, listen, if I were you, I every moment that we live in Florida in this time, I feel like I'm living the prequel to Handmaid's Tale, and you will get, yes, Sean, you are like, you have no idea. You're the one, you're like the guy that plays her boyfriend in there. So like you're the
I? Oh well, at least I'm the good guy that's trying to get them
you're
out
the good guy that's getting into the system, because you're like, this is what I can do, and you go get into the system, and then maybe you can be the mole on the inside for the resistance, because that's where the righteousness is.
Well, sure. If we actually end up having some sort of theocratic terrorist group blow up the three branches of government and then
like
take over,
fascists and nationalists, like maybe ones that are, I don't know, writing Project 2025.
I don't think of maybe Christian nationalists, maybe, but not Christo-fascists, and not all of them. But anyway.
There's a lot.
The point is, yes, I'm sure I would be a part of the resistance of any form of totalitarian government that would take over the United States.
So I'm kind of joking about this, obviously, but here's actually the thing that I want to say about this. Not only I really do truly believe that listen, there's tons of empirical evidence as well as rhetorical evidence that there's a significant portion of the Republican Party that wants to move towards, at the very least, minoritarian rule, right? This has been happening since the weaponization of the filibuster under Mitch McConnell and so on and so forth. There's been a ton of things that have been going on with that. But what I think ends up happening in all the kinds of situations where these types of slides start happening is there are people who get involved, right? Maybe it is that they really believe, maybe they really are fundamentally in their heart of hearts, pro-life, right? Maybe they really do believe in, Christianity, and they think it's a good factor, right? Maybe they really do believe that fiscal conservatism works, and they get involved for fiscal policy reasons. But what I'm saying is, like, people get involved in these types of situations. Like, people didn't join with the Nazis in the beginning because they were like, oh, like, seems cool, we'll just slaughter a bunch of Jews, right? Like, it came in because it was a way of life, it was a certain way of thinking. There's emotional manipulation on the part of people who are involved. And so what ends up happening along the way is people are just kind of slotted in where they are. And then they do realize at some point, like, oh, wait a minute, this isn't all that I thought it was going to be, right? This isn't everything that I was in for. Maybe I was in for this one thing that I cared about, but there's kind of a bigger, broader thing happening. I do think that there's going to be a significant amount of that if some of these things are really take hold in the next few years, if Trump happens to win. So, and I think you'll find yourself there eventually.
Well, sure. We'll see what happens.
Anyway, we're going to avoid the history. So what was your take on the debate?
Obviously, my take was that it was depressing to watch with Joe. I I honestly did want to see a strong debate from both of them. Joe, it was stumbling from the first 10 minutes. Now, do I think it's enough for him to drop out? I don't think so, but I also like the idea of him not dropping out because I think it boosted our chances. But again, this is so early before the election, and multiple things can happen. I mean, Obama had that horrible debate night in 2012 as well. So I don't think this is like this wasn't a deal breaker, but
Yeah.
it definitely strengthened our hand on our end by sort of reinforcing what we've been trying to say, which is Biden is old and senile, which doesn't also reinforce the fact that he's some sort of criminal mastermind. But I prefer old and
But it's
senile than
okay. You
criminal
guys are totally
mastermind.
cool with contradictions. So
It's too contradictory for me, but I'll take old and senile because old and senile and goes into the question of competence. And so once you get into the question of competence, I think you could switch more independence over. Rather than he's some sort of criminal mastermind that's wheeling and dealing with China to get Hunter, his son, a job in
nobody
somewhere in
gives a
Ukraine. And
fuck about Hunter Biden. Everybody,
no,
just like,
yeah,
come on, Who cares? Really, we're over it. Take them. But here's the other thing, like you said. So, yeah, this was the least watched debate in presidential history, apparently, or in recent history as well.
yeah.
And so it's not even as consequential as previous debates. And there is no empirical evidence that debate performance has any bearing on voting. I mean, by all accounts, Hillary Clinton won every debate in 2016, right?
Well,
Does
for
that
sure.
mean that she won at the ballot box? Nope.
And that's the other thing too. I think I think there's a lot fewer undecided voters than normally there are. We know both of these candidates. We've literally lived under their presidencies in both Trump and Biden over 4 years. We actually have two periods of time that we can judge on. So I think there are very few people who are undecided, and those individuals who are truly undecided, I think those are the people who are probably going to go for like RFK or something. Like who are going to, they don't like Trump, but they don't like Biden because he's not supporting a ceasefire in Palestine or something. Those are the people who are going to go to like
frankly,
Kennedy or Cornell. Yeah, that's true. I think that's going to be the biggest factor, especially with Michigan and Minnesota. Like we may flip Michigan over that.
It's going to be a turnout issue. So what that will do is that will depress the vote of the young folks and voters of color, frankly, is what I'm seeing in the polls and in relation to it. And this is going to be a turnout election. This is a base turnout election for Trump. I mean, Trump has already kind of made that his MO. Like, he's not interested in winning over the Haley voters. He's not trying to persuade anybody necessarily.
And that's the other set of, undecided voters, is those people who don't like Trump, don't want to really vote for Biden, and they'll probably like write in Mitt Romney or something, or whoever. They'll just write in someone. That's your third set of undecided voters. But I honestly feel like that number is starting to shrink. Like, I think
That's
that's
part of the
a lot of those Haley voters who are like, fine, we'll do it, but we don't like it.
Yeah, but even then, I just think that those folks are going to show up less this election. That's the way it's going to come. That's the way it usually works. And yeah, it's going to be interesting, frankly, to see how all this stuff comes down the pipes for us, because for all of us, because like I said, Trump is really playing to his base. He's not moderating, so to speak, except for kind of on abortion, but it's really just an evasion. Right. I think there'll be some more moderating potentially with some of the down ballot candidates, which we really haven't even talked a whole lot about. And really, it's the presidential, not just the debate, but the presidential election itself seems to have sucked all the air out of the room for the down ballot elections, except for, we had a few primaries come up this past week. So Marjorie Taylor Greene won her primary. Lauren Boebert in Colorado had a contested
that was
primary.
a shocker. I didn't expect her to win her primary in that one.
Well, she went to a more competitive district, or like a less competitive.
Yeah, I know, but she had like 7 people running against her, and I felt that there would have been enough moves against her. The big one, of course, was Jamal Bowman
Yep,
getting
Jamal Bowman.
primaried out. That was a big, and I heard about I don't know if Cori Bush is primaried or if she's having a primary, and it's not looking good for her.
Yeah.
I don't know if that happened yet or not, or
Yeah,
whatever.
it's happening. It's not been her election has not happened yet, but she was definitely a member of the squad and one of the more vulnerable folks. And these candidates like Jamal Bowman, who is like the dude member of the squad, had
Dude,
been targeted by APAC.
of course,
Which is
yeah.
the American Israeli Political Action Committee. So these, the squad members, the progressive folks, have spoken out, calling for a ceasefire, calling the situation in Gaza a genocide, and this is really, really raised the ire of APEC and some of these very strong pro-Israel groups in the United States. And so the Bowman primary was the most expensive congressional race in the country, apparently, ever. I read that APEC itself spent $15 million alone to just on ads to defeat him.
It doesn't surprise me. APEC's very powerful and very vindictive as an organization, I would find. You're not the type of people who like when you criticize Israel. And this was a successful flip for them. And honestly, I have no love lost for Bowman anyway. I didn't like Bowman from the get-go, especially with the whole fire alarm thing. I know it was a ridiculous story. I know it's a ridiculous story, but it's still, I feel it's serious, because you're over here trying to interrupt a vote because you don't want it to happen. And I just,
it's not, that's not proven, but it was weird no matter what. Like, if it was an accident, it was weird. If it was on
it's
purpose,
like saying that Dan Shepard really had to pee right when the stipend vote happened. Yeah, maybe he really did, and they was holding it in for that long, and at that moment he had to pee right when they were calling the vote. Nah, it doesn't seem likely, but I guess technically it's a possibility. We don't know for sure. Come on.
Do you really want somebody to shit their pants during a vote, though?
Put your vote, and you can hold. If you were holding it in the whole time, then you could hold it in for
when
5
nature
more.
calls, man. When nature calls.
Anyway, so yeah, we did have those primary races.
The primary races will, but not what I haven't heard a lot of is, I guess, is what I'm saying, why the presidential race is sucking the air out of the room, is now with all this intrigue that no one's talking about, like, okay, what does it look like? Which seats are flippable? Like, what's the balance of the Senate versus in the balance in the House, kind of thing? Because right now, wonks like you and I follow this, but it's like, it's like a 2 senator majority for the Democrats and a 1 congressman majority for the Republicans in the House.
Right now, yeah.
So we're talking like really slim margins for both parties, which is part of why we've seen this major deadlock and all this other kind of stuff going on.
And with me, even further than that, I'm actually looking at, because we're going to have a Senate leadership race in the Republican Party. So which Senate Republicans are going out to campaign for which Republicans? I was just trying to look this up the other day, as which Republicans are running and which seats are flippable. You're right. We haven't been hearing too much about those.
Rick Scott's running too. We're in Florida. We should be getting pummeled with,
And he's going to be running for leader. So you think,
right? Yeah. So I'm saying, like, it should be all that kind of stuff, but it hasn't been. And even prior to the debate, it hasn't been the top line in the story on any political podcast, any political news stories. I mean, there's been a lot of talk about Gaza, right? There's and politics wise, it's all been the presidency. And then, the last few months, it's been, Hunter Biden's trial and then Trump's trials, and just nobody cares about Don Ballot, I guess.
Well, let me ask you, which Senate seats? What are you thinking about the Senate? Because I know there's a few seats that are Republican targets. We have, like, I know we're trying to target Ohio with Sherrod Brown.
Okay.
Obviously, West Virginia, we're most likely going to flip. That
Right.
one's a pretty much a done
I
deal.
mean,
So
Manchin's already left the Democratic Party. I
yeah,
mean, he really left
that's
it a very long time ago.
I. He was he ever a member of the Democratic
I
Party
don't
is the
know.
real question. I honestly don't think he was. I always thought he was more on our side. But yeah,
Well, he was
Michigan.
maybe like the, if you will, the canary in the coal mine for the shifting of the labor vote from Democrat to Republican.
Mm, that's an interesting way to look at it. Yeah,
Mhm. Think about it. That
'cause
makes
he
a lot of
was yeah
sense then, right?
yeah because he was very much a blue collar worker type
Yep.
governor and senator. That's absolutely right.
Yep.
Um, so yeah,
So
West
no, I
Virginia.
mean, Democrats are saying that that Rick Scott's seat is flippable, and there's a lot of
Really?
data, yeah, that shows that that's a competitive seat. It's one of the reasons why the national parties and the fundraisers have thrown their weight behind Debbie Murcassel Powell. The reason that they even stepped in there instead of just letting some rando run is because there was polling that showed that it was possible for DMP to pull
Yeah.
off the flip.
I do
So,
think I had thought for a while she was a threat, but yeah, okay, that's something to watch because I've been
but I mean,
hoping.
not really. Don't go tell the other Republicans.
No, I'll be telling him. I'll be telling all of them. We need to start worrying about Rick Scott's
Tell
race,
them that
guys.
we're coming.
So you think Florida's flippable? That would immediately ruin Rick Scott's chances if Thursday goes his race for
Well,
majority.
let's put it this way. For as many people and pundits and stuff that are really ignoring Florida right now, grassroots Democrats have a lot of momentum after filling the 140 seats. And little old Lee County here, the reason I got these Biden signs is because we opened our first Biden Harris office here in Lee County. Has Trump opened his office yet?
Hmm, I don't know. I don't
Just
think so.
saying. Biden's throwing money into Lee County. So
That
we got
is.
our own staff, we got our own office, we already got our own swag. So,
Whoa.
and we were, by the way, one of the biggest turnouts in the entire state in terms of
Good
for
to know.
our
I
office
will make
opening.
sure Republicans start
Yeah,
shitting
go
their
tell them.
pants.
Tell them it was me. But I'm just
Go
saying, like,
full
for all
Tyrell, just
this
like
little,
Ike was
like,
the one who
oh,
killed him.
because listen, nobody's really, the national pundits are not talking about Florida. They're not even saying it's in play. They're talking about
They're gonna
Wisconsin
be
and
surprised if it
Arizona
flips.
and
Yeah.
Michigan. We're gonna dark horse y'all. I'm fine with that.
Look, I've been like I said, if they don't heed my warnings, it's on them at that point. You know,
I'm
if I
looking
tell
forward
them
to your
we need
giant
to
I told you
consider,
so on November 6th.
if I keep telling them the Democrats are an actual threat, they're possibly going to flip the Senate, and they're probably going to do this, do that. And they're like, oh, no, we're fine. We have a majority, 1 million more Republicans than Democrats. That means everything. And so, if you guys prove me right, I won't be too upset. But I would much rather my Republican Party actually understand that, hey, the Democrats are a threat. The Democrats under Nikki Fried are a threat. And they are actually putting a fight up, and they have a chance to make some gains, and we have a chance to they have a chance to defeat us in some areas.
Honestly, you guys just take it easy. Like, it's not that big of a deal. Just, you don't guys have to show up to debates or none of that stuff. Just, you guys are good. Like, you're good.
Well, honestly, us showing up for debates, I feel would help you guys more if you think about it, because
Because you got so
the
many
reason,
idiots.
well, no, because not necessarily, no, it's because we're platforming you at that point. The reason that Republicans really don't want to debate is because they feel like if we let people know that the Democrats in the race, they will know that there's a Democrat in the race and might vote for them. And
That,
so
and
it
also
gives
so
you
many of them are
publicity.
used to walking into seats that they don't actually know how to discuss their own policy.
Exactly.
So, when you get Tiffany Esposito and be like, why did you sponsor that bill that was written by the development lobbyists? And she'll be like, what bill?
Well, I'm hearing we're having a bit of a scandal right now with one of our REC members openly supporting a libertarian, but I don't have enough information to
Ooh.
reveal anything on that. But
I hope it's Joshua Krakow.
well, yeah, a Republican is supporting Joshua Krakow in violation of the loyalty oath, apparently.
Oh, well, I'm so disappointed to hear that.
Yeah. So
because that's
they
the seat
might
we're
be
going to flip.
that. Yeah, I mean, look, if enough Republicans vote for Krakow, we could lose that seat. Absolutely.
I'm sure it's fine. It's not a big
And if
deal.
Cornelius Fowler gets enough Democrats at FGCU to change their residency to Lee County, and then pulls off enough votes from the Lehigh, yeah, it's a flippable seat. And again,
In
if
a three-way
Republicans
race,
don't
it
want to
sure
heat
is.
my warnings,
No, I'm sure it's
it's
fine. I think a
it's
lot
on
of
you
people
guys.
should support Joshua Krakow.
Yeah.
He seems really awesome.
So again, yeah, Republicans, if you want to listen to Cindy, go ahead and lose. But I'm trying to give you advice to win. But anyway.
It's good. So I gotta go pick up my kids soon. So let's wrap this up soon. But so let's see, we got coming up.
Yeah.
What else do you want to talk about today?
I wanted to bring one more thing up because it's something that I'm sure you know about too. I wanted to talk about more of the Supreme Court cases, but if you have to go, let's talk about the Chevron deference being repealed. Big blow to the administrative state. I am personally in favor of it. I don't think that I always thought that it was a weird idea to have the regulatory agencies making the rules without the legislative approval, and just making sure that the courts have the authority to be independent and removing that authority from the courts. So Chevron deference. Oh, you're looking at me like I don't know what I'm talking about, it seems like. But anyway, Chevron deference is over. What are your thoughts?
I mean, I was just like, that's an interesting take on it. Yeah, this whole like, oh yeah, just we should have oversight. I mean, we do have oversight. And the point is that the people who are in the administrative bodies and the regulatory bodies are experts in their area. 90% of the people who work for the government are people.
But they aren't elected.
No, they're not. They know what they're doing. They're not just morons who got put up by a party with a lot of money. They know what they're doing. They are water quality experts. They are atomic engineers. They are food safety people, and they know very specifically their one area. And they're hired by these government agencies to make sure bad shit doesn't happen to us. And I think that's awesome, frankly. And I'm very worried about Chevron being turned over because what this does is it allows judges to overturn regulations in spite of evidence from experts who created them.
But I'm assuming the evidence from experts would be brought into any of those cases for the judge.
Yeah, but the person ultimately making the decision is a judge, not necessarily an expert. And keep in mind that a lot of the big baddie organizations, they pay for their own experts to say stuff. So you really usually have people going like this, right? The job of the government is to protect the public good, and that includes health and safety. And I'm telling you, as somebody who spent a significant amount of time in governments and with governments in places that are not sophisticated and do not have regulations, you want this shit. As the example that I give in my class, I talk about Indonesia and some of the magic things that happen in our country with waste disposal, right? We have waste disposal, we take it, we throw it out in the trash. Magically, it disappears, right? But it's not magic, it's government. Here in the United States, the trash, we can reasonably expect that trash is going to be taken to a facility. It's going to be handled properly, that is not going to poison us in any significant way. It's going to be taken care of, right? That is government. In Indonesia, their response, because they don't have the same regulation, is a rolling dumpster fire. A literal rolling dumpster fire. So instead of having a beautiful system that takes away our trash and handles it on our behalf, they throw trash in a dumpster and they roll it to the road and they set it on fire. So that's what we're talking about, the difference here. We're talking about the difference between buildings that stay up during hurricanes and buildings that fall because of regulations. Most deaths in natural disasters are not necessarily related to the strength of that disaster, but the strength of the buildings and the regulations around those buildings to keep people safe. So, for instance, between when I lived in Japan and Indonesia, I was doing my research in Indonesia, there was an earthquake within a few weeks of those places. The one in Japan was actually slightly higher at 7.2, and the one in Indonesia was 7.1. In Japan, one person died. In Indonesia, the village I was researching in, 10,000 people died. Why? Because there were no regulations on the buildings in that area at the foot of a volcano, and that's where those people died, because they built buildings that fell on their head and killed them.
Mm-hmm.
So when we're talking about life and death,
yeah,
we're talking about this in every single thing. And we take that for granted right now in the United States. And I am
for sure
very worried
well, I mean,
about what will happen
even from
without
like
Chevron.
Surfside
Yep.
recently in Florida is a perfect example. And I do agree with you that we need to make sure we have, excuse me, smart regulations out there to protect people. That is a role of government. I 100% agree with you there. My problem is those decisions need just again, we're in a democracy, as we like to say. These are decisions that need to be made by the elected officials, not by unelected bureaucrats. But I do agree with you that the experts need
so
to
now
be.
we're in a democracy.
Yeah.
Now we're in a democracy.
You know what?
I thought
I'm
you were
not
on
going to get
about
the
the
argument from
representative republic.
semantics
I thought you were
anymore
about
over
the
this. I'm
Democratic
tired
Republic where
of
we don't let
debating
every
democracy.
Dick, and Harry make a decision on something, huh? So now we're in a democracy when you're talking about experts in the EPA. Okay.
Yeah, that's how it is. Yep.
Y'all just like the contradictions flow like a tsunami through
well,
you.
democracy and, as you said, a democracy and a republic are the same thing. What's the difference? I really don't care anymore about that damn semantic argument. I'm getting tired of it. We're both talking about the same thing.
Shit.
It's because the people who talk about we're a republic, not a democracy. The people who say we're a republic, not a democracy, are going by old definitions of democracy, thinking that by democracy we're an Athenian democracy.
We did not change the definition of democracy, no matter how many times Republicans want them to believe it. We do live in a republic. It is a representative democracy. And the fact of the matter is, we elect representatives to make rules and legislation. But we also understand that we don't want every single voter voting on atomic policy and and how to store our atomic weapons. Like, regular people as voters can barely keep up with the people electing, let alone all of the things that the government does, right? So
well, that's why, for example, you have the congressional committees and the hearings and the experts who come to the hearings and all that type of stuff. So there is
all that
avenues.
Shit. I literally just took part in an EPA hearing, a rules making process that, by the way, has public input. They came here to Fort Myers to talk about the ETO, the ethylene oxide leak that had come down here. We became part of the rules making process. There was a process that was facilitated by the White House. There was a process that was facilitated by the EPA. They had a locally facilitated process with the FDEP, and all of that to make one rule related to one chemical. And it was a 10-year process. So to say that we don't have a democratic process is ignorance.
Okay, that's fair.
And on that note, happy 4th of July.
Yep, for declare your independence from the administrative state. No, anyways.
Lord help us. All right. So thank you so much for everybody for joining us here for another live online version of A Democrat and Republican Walk into a Bar. I've been your Democratic host, Dr. Cindy Banyai.
I've been your Republican host, Sean Hartman. And remember to join us on July 3rd, 5:30 p.m. for the City Council debate for District 5 at the Cape Coral Lee County Public Library.
That's right. And then have a safe and happy and festive 4th of July celebration with your family. There's a lot of great events happening around here in Southwest Florida. I myself am having a neighborhood barbecue. So if you'd like to come over to my house, I'd love to have you. You can check out my Instagram page to learn more about that. And of course, if you enjoyed this show, we'd love to have your support here at Big Mouth Media. Check out all of our great shows on our website at bigmouthmediafl.com. And we'd love to have you subscribe and help us keep in business. You can check all of that out on the plans and pricing page. Thanks so much for joining us, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.